What's up, everybody? This is HBT, Harry Bernard Taylor with the Straight Up Wrestling Show. And I'm here live, man, and about to talk about, we're going to talk about, does wrestling need a new marketing strategy and why Saturdays was good for wrestling? I have a special guest on, and this is my man Danny Paris. He's does a lot of commentary with me and Chris. Basically, helped us out, put us on the indie scene as far as commentary, and Danny is basically part of the Straight Up Wrestling Show. Me and Chris have been to plenty of shows with him, and my man Danny, he's legendary when it comes to calling this, calling wrestling. And Danny is a historian of wrestling, and me and him, we basically a year or two apart as far as an age. We both go back to the 70s, 80s of wrestling. So that right there, what we're about to talk about is definitely is about to come into play. The 70s, 80s, and the 90s is about to come into play on this show tonight. So basically, let me go ahead and start off with Wednesday night. Wednesday night, what's up? Facebook user wouldn't let me play the podcast. Well, earlier I turned it on, and for some reason it muted on it muted. I couldn't get any sound. So that's probably the reason that you couldn't play the podcast over on Facebook. So if you're having any problems now, come over to YouTube. If anybody on YouTube, you can't hear me, definitely let me know, because StreamYard is having problems, seem like we okay right now. I'm hoping that we're okay. But yes, so right now, I'm just gonna be basically okay, came up all of a sudden, it's on now. Thank you very much. The Facebook user, I'm not sure who that is. I'll look over there and see who that is in just a moment. But yeah, right now we're gonna talk about a new marketing strategy for wrestling and why Saturdays were so good for professional wrestling. And one thing I want to go to AEW Dynamite from Wednesday night and talk about that. And Mercedes Monet, Sasha Banks, was supposed to show up where Tony Khan had promoted, well, not really promoted her, but he pretty much basically had everybody out there, thinking that she was going to show up. And one thing I've seen in the last year and a half in wrestling is, especially with AEW, WWE a little bit, but they always teasing that somebody is going to come back. Somebody is going to show up. And that way more people show up for wrestling. But if you look at the ratings for, for this past week on Dynamite, because Tony was hoping that get him over 1 million views. It almost did. It got him 900 something thousand. I can't remember what it was. But I looked at the breakdown earlier today, and they dropped all the way down to 789,000 from starting off with like 1,039,000, and then they ended up with a 900 some thousand mark. But they lost they lost almost 300,000. They lost over 200,000 fans after after when she was supposed to be there, and people see she wasn't there. They lost all those fans, just disappeared. And that's one thing that I'm seeing in wrestling today. Wrestling is a big tease. Oh, this person's coming back. You have to use somebody from the past, or you have to use a star from another company and say they're coming to your company to get people interested, or to try to grab a whole segment of people. That's not how it used to be back in the day. And that's the reason why I'm going to talk about Saturdays, why Saturdays was so important to professional wrestling. And before I bring my man Danny Paris in here, we're gonna start talking about this Saturday thing of professional wrestling, why it was so important. Let me find out who this is on Facebook, so I don't miss your. Okay, I thought so. That was Melanie McKeith. What's up, Melanie? But Melanie definitely understands too, because hey, she was back there back in the day. She watched wrestling back in the day, so she understands. So Danny, man,
Yes, sir.
Wrestling back when we was growing up, in the 70s and 80s, and I know you know a lot more about TV, wrestling on TV, back from the 50s, 60s, and late 40s when it first started. You know a lot more about that. You know a lot about that, and that's one thing we need to get into one day here in the future. But right now, Danny, let's talk about wrestling when we was growing up. Me and you back in the 70s when we both started watching, and I think we both started pretty much around the same time understanding what the sport was about, around 1975, because you and I both have talked about wrestling from 1975 when, we really started understanding it. And,
Right.
one thing about wrestling on TV back then, man, it just, we saw, like you and I was talking earlier, we saw people that would come into the territory, come to the Mid-Atlantic area. That's the one that you and I and Melody, know the most. Even though we know the other territories, we saw other people come in that were stars from other territories, but a lot of times we didn't know. Sometimes we had the video segments they would show and they would say this guy's coming, but still they didn't give us a specific date or anything like that. So it was great when we finally saw them. And we tuned in. Wrestling fans used to tune in every week until they saw them. So, man, what you think about this? I mean, with this marketing strategy today, that they have to tout somebody new coming in to really grab a crowd.
Well, I want to say this. Tony Khan, from what you just stated a minute ago, made a big mistake. You don't ever promise something you can't deliver.
No doubt, no
And,
doubt.
and by that, he's lost some faith in the fan.
Right.
And that's just like if you had a loser Lee Town match when I was growing up or something. Well, back then they didn't have a guy show back up with a mask. They honored the stipulations. So what I'm saying is they need to honor what they're saying they're going to deliver. Otherwise, what they're telling you is they don't have any real sense of value. Otherwise, what they're telling you is they don't have any real as far as that goes. So, and if you're a promoter and you're trying to do this stuff, keep your word.
Danny, do you have a microphone? Are you speaking on a microphone or something? Say, I'm getting some echo. Danny,
Do what now?
do you have a microphone? I'm getting some echo or something like that. So give me a second, man. Maybe that's because I'm on.
Do what now?
Maybe that's me. Can you talk now? Let me see if I can hear you. Oh, sorry about that. I had to turn down the. But yeah, I was getting some echo there. Just a second. Everybody else. But yeah, I was getting some echo there. Just a second. All right, so Danny, hold on for a second, man. I'm sorry. All right, Danny. But yeah, yeah, you're right, man. Tony Khan. I mean, as far as any of these promoters, and I mean, Khan, he does it all the time. He'll tell people. He'll say somebody's gonna show up, and sometimes eventually they might show up, but they might not show up that week. And sometimes, sometimes he haven't been able to deliver. That's not good. And I'm looking at this whole thing, man. The whole strategy of how they doing things now, and it's kind of messed up because, like you said before, it seemed like wrestling today, they having a whole lot of trouble trying to build stars. It's like they can't build their own stars. And if you had your own stars, you wouldn't have to worry about trying to build somebody up and let people know that they're coming into the territory.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah.
Today I was talking to you off camera a while ago. We were talking about star appeal and star power. Um, and when I was a kid, they would bring, let's say Ken Patera was the new guy coming into the promotion. They may mention him. They were definitely probably mention him. And then for a few 2 or 3 weeks, they're going to interview him, and he's going to go in and beat the undercard guys. He's going to beat them decisively.
Right.
His interviews are going to let you know whether he's a good guy or a bad guy, this, that, the other, and what his intentions are. So you have to slowly build them up. And when all of a sudden you do have the match, where he does finally have the match with, let's say, Tony Atlas, who's already established, then you got the young guy who can make it or break it in that match. And if he makes it, then all of a sudden he's a name.
Right. Right.
And today, um, and I watch AEW probably not as often as you, but I would say this: a lot of these guys, and I'm not taking anything away from their ability or their promos or anything they're doing. But I bet if you took a consensus with your fans out there listening, can they tell you who's on that show week in and week out other than the Young Bucks? And, they, you've got a few top hands, they definitely know who's who. But can they tell you that roster, who's on there and what have you? I don't think everybody can, but when I was growing up, to be honest with you, from the preliminary guys to the mid card guys to the main event, we knew who people were.
Oh yeah, oh
We
yeah,
knew we knew the curtain jerking guys.
yeah, no doubt. Well, the whole thing about it now is you have and I think it's messed up. I think they need, and this reason I'm saying they need to change their marketing strategy. They need to change their promotion and marketing definitely because uh I think it's I don't think it's good that they actually show who's gonna be I mean, yes, show who's gonna be on the card, but they basically show the whole lineup on the internet. And I know it's totally different now, but they show the whole lineup on the internet and they show it on TV before we even see it the next week. Now we didn't start seeing stuff like that until the 90s, but they would tell us a certain match will come up, a main event match was going to happen the next week or whatever. But pretty much a lot of times we didn't even know uh, what matches was coming up. Even when WCW went to the Clash of Champions, when they started doing that, a lot of times we didn't know. We would know, certain people. So to me, I think the anticipation of the fans, the fans anticipating what's going to happen that week. Man, I got to watch wrestling. It made it must see TV, and that's one thing they talking about. Wrestling is not must see TV no more. You got people that'll take off and okay, I didn't watch it. I'm gonna go over to Twitter and read and see what happened. Or I'm gonna go on YouTube and maybe watch highlights or whatever. People are not watching that, not watching it live, and they will watch it live if somebody's supposed to come on, like Sasha Banks was supposed to come on last night, or there's a surprise, a Japanese wrestler supposed to show up that's very popular, or you have Aleister Black, who's Aleister Black in WWE, he's WWF, he's Malachi Black now, so people tuned in to see that, and then once that initial spark is over, and especially if Tony Khan, when he doesn't do anything right, when he books these people right, then that spark is over, and then he lose that extra amount of people that he got in. So, Danny, just give me a minute, and then I'm gonna let you go ahead and talk. But I'm gonna go ahead and answer because Melanie, Melanie said, Danny knows more match and wrestling match shoots etc than I do. I know a lot of personal and professional info. Danny knows dates and times etc. I am a friend and confidant of many, and they are my family. That's big time in indie groups. And Scott Larson said wrestling needs a total reboot. No doubt about that, Scott. And that's basically what I'm talking about, man. Marketing and promoting and marketing is definitely off. But wrestling definitely needs a total reboot, and they need to learn how All right, I'm back. Hopefully we get some sound here. Let me see. If you can't hear me, please let me know. So yeah, Danny, I want you to go ahead and speak, and I'll see if I can hear you on here, and I'll let you know, man. So go ahead and talk about what you thought about Saturdays, and what made wrestling so great back then.
Well, it was interesting because you know
Thank you.
what hurt today is there's no territories. And I can assure you, we've already talked about on a forthcoming episode about three parts about the difference between territories and independence. Is it kept things fresh. For example, that if Bob Caudle came on the TV and he said, "Folks, in about a few weeks, we're going to have Andre the Giant return to the territory," and this and that. He hadn't been around in a while.
Right.
Then they picked.
Sorry, guys. Wow, I'm having all kind of trouble. I'm having all kind of trouble with. You should be able to see me right now. But yeah, Danny was talking about how back in the day, Andre the Giant. You can bring Andre the Giant in and other people like that, and and we would get, people would be, we basically had the same crowd. Danny, in my opinion, I think more people got interested, especially during the live shows. More people went out to see more people went out to see it when you had somebody like Andre the Giant come in, uh, or you had the world champion. We know when we first started watching it, I'm gonna go back to 1975. Jack Briscoe was the world champion, and he basically, he did go around the world, but Florida was his main base, just like Flair had the Mid Atlantic, the Carolinas. But when Jack Briscoe came to Spartanburg, came to the Greenville area, people went out there and packed it out, man. You still there, Danny? Oh, I'm sorry. We lost Danny, guys. Sorry about that. But wow, this right here has been I've been having a lot of trouble here tonight, but man, I appreciate Danny Paris coming on. But tonight, the podcast has been kind of like messed up. Been going in and out. Done had trouble, and looked like I lost Danny on the phone. So guys, I'm gonna talk to you guys later. I'm gonna have to get out of here, and maybe we can pick this thing up some other time. But right now, I have a lot of problems going on. And appreciate it. Definitely appreciate you joining us, Melanie, and I appreciate you joining us, Scott. But as you go out, man, hit that like, share, join. If you're on YouTube, hit that like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell, ding, 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 so you know when we're coming on. And if you're on Twitter, do hit that like, share, tweet, retweet. And if you're on Twitch, hit that like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell, just like you do over here on YouTube. Appreciate it, 100%. And Melanie said Johnny Weaver, Ole and Gene Anderson, Wahoo, and Swede Hansen, no doubt about it. And yeah, I have Danny on a little bit later on. I did do some podcasting with him, and we did that pretty much. We did that over the phone, and I have those on recordings. I'll go ahead and upload some of those things a little bit later. But man, appreciate you joining me here tonight. And like I said, just had a few technical difficulties, but we was able to get through with it and got a little bit in. But I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good night. Stay straight up. Peace.